I really gotta get a straw hat for these. Hey everybody, MonkeyDCaleb here, and we are back with Manga Ranking of the Week number 5. So, last week we had some really good chapters with One Piece, with Doctor Stone, with Undead Unluck, and even with My Hero Academia. I already ranked how each one did in the last video, so if you want to go check that out, please go see that. We're only episode 5, it shouldn't be that hard to go through a couple of them and see which ones I've ranked for the week. And then as you can see, I didn't mention it last time either, but on right here, next to me is the Viz Media symbol and then the Shonen Jump symbol. Those are the respective places to go read these mangas. I've already said this before in one of my videos, but please support them. You're supporting the author. It's $2 a month. You get about 100 chapters a day of manga that you can choose to read all over anywhere. They have volumes on there as well. So just go ahead and give it a try. I know usually, I think the first 5 or the latest 5 are always free, and then from there you'd have to be a member to read the chapters. So you still get your free weekly manga content. But anyway, bit my tongue. Starting with where we need to be, we have here One Piece, chapter 972. We have an opening page for One Piece Hungry Days. Now this is, as you can see, there's Luffy and then there's Luffy, but it's not the Luffy you're used to. There was a commercial for cup noodles that was being promoted with the One Piece, One Piece Easter egg setting is what I want to kind of call it. Basically, you got Easter eggs of every single person in One Piece that you could probably think of that's a big name and that was through the series, and it was promoting cup noodles. So it's really cool. They're little 30-second commercials on YouTube. You can go find them. They started off with I think the first one was with Nami, and it was with Vivi, and I think there was Zoro, Nami, Vivi, and then there was finally the Marineford arc. If there was one in between and I missed it, I'm sorry. Please let me know. But yeah, that was the cool promotion we got in here. So, continuing from last chapter, which One Piece again did win Manga of the Week last week. Continuing from there, from how it's going, this is still Lord Oden being executed, and he's still being boiled to death. And it's continuing from where Shinobu had mentioned the truth about what he did for all the people of Wano, and immediately the ninjas that she was with are upset at her because she defied the Shogun, and now she'll be set to die with him. And right away, Shinobu proves her amazing loyalty by stating that she has decided to join her fate with theirs. Life or death, she is Lord Oden's vassal, which is just amazing because it's kind of really sad as far as what's going on, and to still claim what you're doing even though an entire country's in trouble or the Shogun's going ahead of you. It's awesome. And there's a lot of people who I've at least heard, I haven't directly talked to anybody about this, is that they thought that Shinobu was the traitor on Oden's team, but it's not. And that's, this is very set in stone that she is not the traitor. But it's really cool because then she also states that one day they're going to survive this and they'll take down Shogun and all of you. And then the leader of the ninja team is in your dream. So I'm sorry I don't know his name. It's trying to break down the other settings of One Piece, and as far as knowing each individual division, because I know these ninjas go by a name, and I'm thinking I know she calls them Fukuro Kuju, and I know later on those are the same ninjas that Shinobu fought with when Robin and all of them snuck in Orochi's meeting, and I gotta remember the name. So I'm probably doing a reread of Wano and probably a whole reread of One Piece as far as since we did Dressrosa to now, because there's a lot of what happens at Wano involvement as far as taking on Kaido. So I do apologize. If you want to roast me, feel free to roast me. But continuing on with this, they're just, from here on out, it plays out to where the townspeople are stop the execution, stop Orochi, and Orochi has them all shot down. And he's silence, trash. And then the narrator goes, the crowd instantly understood a threat a madman bent on revenge posed to them. So right now, Lord Oden's boiling. The people people were surrounded by him, by Kaido and Orochi's men, were bristling with weapons, and they're all just watching as Oden is holding through. And some of the people are finding out about what Oden did for them, and they're feeling really bad about it. And they're like, free Oden, Oden, you can survive. Lord Oden, you can do this. And so as he's going through, you get a picture of Yasui as he's looking at a note, finding out about what Oden did, because news starts spreading all over Wano about what he did. And the funny part is there's a part where they're like, thank you for protecting us, Lord Oden. And Kanjuro's like, oh, now they care? How convenient for them. He's like, ignore them, my lord. And then Oden goes, thank you, I will persevere. And he's so appreciative. So I thought that was hilarious. But What's crazy then is that Oden starts going on about he wants them to open the barriers as far as what is going on. Sorry about that. So, but as I was kind of going on, it's really cool because in this part, even though Oden's dying and he's being boiled, he's like, if I manage to survive this boiling, I would like to open up this country. He starts telling everybody everybody on his team that the Kozuki clan were the original reasons as to why Wano's borders was closed. And he says, and it was to protect Wano from a great external power. And you're like, wait, what? What, Orochi? So, he kind of goes to tell them that someone will appear in like the future's time, and that he will be clear with you that they are going to kill him today. So he leaves his mission of opening Wano's borders up to them. And so as he's dying, you know, his vassals are like, we'll continue your dream for you. Your dream is our dream. And Owen's like, well said. So, and you know, the vassals, they're really sad about him dying because they know they want Oden to live. They want him to help open their borders. And then as time keeps going on, Orochi starts freaking out. And he's like, how is he still alive? Raise the heat. And so then at the very end of this, Oden survives an hour. But at this point, it doesn't matter because Orochi already said a minute ago to have him executed by gunfire, all of them executed. And so they're, you know, obviously the vassals are pissed because Orochi, he's a slime bag. He didn't honor their agreement. He survived an hour of boiling, and Orochi still wants him dead and doesn't care. So, you know, he yells on to open up Wano's, or Oden, taking what's on top of his head and hands, goes open up Wano's borders and throws all the vassals over out of the boiling pot, and they run. And so then, you know, Kinemon's like, Takuri, and then he asks for Shinobu's help, and she cuts free of his shackles to break him free of the binds, and then all the vassals are crying as they're leaving, and Kinemon's yelling, don't turn back, and then they're mentioning how they're just running and reminiscing about their old time with Oden and when he met each one of them and why they joined him and how great of a leader he was. And the crazy thing is that for them, they're not just running away just to get away from Kaido, they're also running to save Oden's family because Orochi ordered the execution of not just the vassals, but also Oden's family as well to completely erase any of their existence. So, my favorite part of like the flashback though is like when they're talking about how hungry they are, or Oden's like, I'm so hungry, and this vassal's like, it's because you let out all the money. And Oden goes, okay, go steal some food. And they're like, is that what a daimyo is supposed to say? And that part is hilarious. Now the crazy part is though is like Kaido then starts giving him a speech saying, you've already gone through enough pain, so I'll end your life respectfully. And the part that threw me off at first, continuing the conversation, is like Kaido says, I'm sorry about what happened with the old hag. I had her killed. And Oden goes, well, how upright of you. Build your strength while you can. And I was like, old hag, what does he mean? And it's obvious that Kaido killed the chick that impersonated Momonosuke because Oden was distracted for that moment, and that allowed Kaido to beat him. And I'm pretty sure Kaido's the prideful man where he want to beat him one-on-one without any help, because thinking he needs help is thinking he's weak. And we've seen that in Pride with Pirates when it came to Moria and Kuma, when Kuma offered Moria help in regards to what was going on with Luffy being on the island, how the system was worried about a warlord being taken down by Luffy, and Moria freaked out and yelled at Kuma. But then the cool part about Oden, his final words is, for I am a story to accompany your drinks. I am Oden, and I was born. And then there's a gunshot straight through the head. And Oden dies. And even though Oden didn't finish his sentence, the people of Wano then yell, to boil. And it's really cool that they do that because they respect him and they all start breaking down crying. But then Oden dies with a smile on his face as he's going underwater. So another great legend, just like Roger, dying with a smile on his face. And I think Whitebeard died with one on his too. And, you know, it's kind of like an end of the trinity of legends, as he wanted Wano's borders to be open, an entire country to be saved on the outside world. Whitebeard just wanted to, you know, was the trinity for leading a great army and close to being king of the pirates. And then Roger being the actual king of the pirates. And so they're like, and so ended one legend. And from here on out, we get to see Toki. And this is the part that actually like broke me when I first started reading this, is that we get like a little flashback between Toki and Oden, where he's like, over 20 years ahead of us, there will like most likely be a massive war terrible enough to split the seas themselves. And so, you know, he's like, if I am to die, I want you to use your power, Toki. And basically we know what that means. It's use her power to send them 20 years in the future to back up the massive war that is to come. So, that kind of like opens an idea that, oh, so Wano is going to be on Luffy's team during the Great War. So what would be crazy if like this entire time Oda has been like, hey, I'm going to end the series in this certain amount of years, but then starting from Wano and expanding out from there is the beginning of the end of the entire series. No one would really see that coming, and that would be crazy, but we still have like Elbaf to explore and other locations too, so that's most likely not the case. But yeah, at the very end though, Toki, the part that broke me again, is she's like, who said you were going to die? Because Oden's surprised she's not like sad about his death sentence. And so, then knowing that he did die and she gets the news that he did pass away, she knows what she has to do. She's like, look ahead, Oden, to 20 years in the future. And then the narrator goes, the story hurtles towards the present day. March 1st, 2020 is when the next chapter comes out. So we don't have a break. We get a chapter. We get back to the present and finally see Luffy and the crew and what they're going to do to get to Onigashima Island to take on Kaido and his crazy bandits of evil people. So his beast pirates, if you will. I am super stoked and excited for that. But I'm kind of just going to move us straight ahead here because I've said enough during this chapter. But that was One Piece chapter 972. Go read it. And then here we have a Dr. Stone 140. This is a good chapter too. Just a continuation of them talking about going to the moon. That's kind of how Senku was like, yeah, we're going to the moon or whatever, and they're talking about their ways of doing it. They were leaving the island, which I almost said the name for it because they give it a name, and they're in plans for that. So what happens is then they just start having their conversations all nonchalantly. Senku's like, we're going to the moon, and Gen's like, I shouldn't be shocked about this stuff anymore, but he's like, I didn't expect to be shocked by any project ever again, and yet going to the moon from this stone world. So, and the people who are born in this time are like, wait, what? You can go to the moon? How are we going? But one thing's for sure is they all believe in Senku. And what's, again, what I love is that this came full circle about Senku saying he'll go to space. He never went, and now he gets to make a spaceship. And the crazy part is, for this road map, it's going to be massive. Because the thing that Senku says to the rest of the team is that we're going to collect materials from all over the world. This new world moon landing project is a go. So the road map is going to be great. And then as you can see from the chapter here, what it says is there's a quote from, it looks like a Robert H. Goddard, which is, it is difficult to say what is impossible. For the dreams of yesterday is the hope of today and the reality of tomorrow. So I like that. Those kind of spiritual quotes, or those kind of motivational quotes, are amazing. So the next page we get, though, is that we get to see that Kinro, Ginro, and I think, oh god, I'm bad with his name already, Matukaze? The guy who's finally was freed from it or so. What happens is, I'm gonna call him Matsu. Yeah, because his name, I think, was Matsu. What happens is they just start unpetrifying most of the villagers now that they've kind of been freed from the evil Imbara, which is just kind of weird because I'm hoping they didn't bring back Ibara at all from the statues, as well as there was Mozu, who was a threat to them, and then there was also Hyoga. So I'm hoping they don't petrify them, but I'm hoping they bring them back with them when they leave. So, but Matsu then talks about how he's like impressed by the sorcery they call science, and how he's like, he wishes they had this kind of technology when the petrification devices rained down from the sky. And so he was talking about how when that happened, though, and Chrome's like, oh, a whole storm of them, huh? And the others left lying around. He's like, my lord saw the destruction of all except one held by the brigands. So right now, Senku's petrification, the little device, is the very last one. So what makes it... See, that makes it me believe, too, though, that Imbara had no idea where these came from. He just was able to figure out how it worked. And then he started applying that to just petrifying people and ruling the village. So that's kind of crazy, because I thought he was part of what was the evil on the moon, and maybe he is. But, maybe we'll just kind of see how it goes from there. So, but then, they're talking about how, as long as we got their fragments, all these people can be revived. And then Soyuz is all those people, and unfortunately, though, he was told that they can't bring back his dad, the original chief villager, because his face is kind of destroyed, so he's actually dead, because you can see the skull fragments on him. So I'm thinking he's actually dead because they couldn't bring back all the fragments. So unfortunately, he can't come back to life, though. Um, and so then there's like a conversation about like, are you sure about reviving the enemy soldiers? They're like, well, they were tricked. They didn't really know who their leader was, and Ibara was playing a trick on them. But it's really cool because in the next panel we get is like, after 20 long years, it's good to see you well, young Soyuz. And they're like, no, Master Soyuz. So even though he doesn't get to see his dad, and as sad as that is, because, you know, he can remember everything from when he was a baby, he doesn't get to have that closure of like actually seeing his father and talking with him. But, you know, Soyuz has his own things to think about as we go on. And then we get a next panel where Kohaku and Senku are talking about Byakuya and how the crew landed and how what they left them, you know, few scraps of stone and things that they could bring them. And Senku's like, unfortunately, they didn't leave it all rotted away, of course. Nothing left from them except a few scraps of stone. And it's cool because Kohaku goes, ha, you couldn't be more wrong. You, me, everyone, we're all doomed to die and turn to dust. But our hopes and dreams get passed down and polished, connecting us to the future. That's what humanity calls science, right? You taught me that, Senku. And she's like, they left this world for us to inherit. This place, it really is Treasure Island. As, you know, from their experience and what they went through and what they realized the island is. So that's what they named the island, Treasure Island, which is, I feel like there's a main reason for that here because, you know, you'll know Treasure Island from many stories, other things as far as like pirating, or even, yeah, there's like the space pirates and stuff like that. So I'm not fully familiar with like Treasure Island, but it's cool that they gave the island a name. And so the next panel is just then Soyuz stating that he's going to stay on the island and be the leader for them. And he's going to plan to free everyone from the stone and then start being the king and leader for everybody there. So then it's just kind of the conversations between everybody, and then Soyuz telling Kurosame that she should go with Senku as they're going to need more people to fight with them. And then Sleazeball Ginro tells Matsu, yeah, Matsukaze, I was right, ha! I'm just gonna call him Matsu though. He tells Matsu that he's like, as a great point for Kurosame stay coming, he's like, you should come along too to protect me. Even though Soyuz is like, you should protect everyone, Ginro's like, you should protect me. And Matsu's like, very well, I shall prove my worth and protect you. And Kohaku's like, one person's asking out of dignity and grace, the other is asking for himself out of pure sleaze. So, and then the cool part is Ryusui, he says, I would desire Matsu as well. Having seen his skills, we could do worse. And they're like, has Ginro's Kaki level gone up? And you get like a Kaki level 2 as he's laughing evilly going up the ship. And then it's cool because then we get a panel of something they did off screen, was that for Treasure Island they did make a radio tower so they can still use radio contact with them, which is really cool. Because I didn't think they could make that, but I guess they must have stayed a couple days in time. So, but they're, you know, they're saying goodbye to everybody on island, and I really do hope that I guess find her name real quick because she was on the island too. I'm actually hoping that Soyuz and Amaryllis do hook up, because then, you know, she's really pretty and he's the king, and they were nice to each other and helped each other, and they became good friends. And so they head out on the Perseus, and so they're heading out now, and then they're talking about how they have the platinum now from Treasure Island, and they can make buckets of revival fluid. So now they can kind of make a factory of the revival fluid to bring back everybody in the earth. What I'm hoping is that Senku can reverse engineer the petrification device, and then it's able to do the depetrification over the whole world. Otherwise, them having to pour that stuff over everybody is going to be pretty hard. Or he might just make rain clouds with that stuff, and it might just rain down and depetrify everybody as well. So, but that's still a lot of traveling, which would be really cool if they traveled the earth together. But now they talk about how going to the moon, how they're going to get up there, what they're going to build, and then who exactly is going to go up there. Magma suggests another grand bout to decide they fight amongst each other to decide who will go up to space. But Senku's like, well, what we're going to do here is that we can decide on the people that we need as far as who we go, depending on who is suitable and what skills they have. So he's like, we need a pilot. And then he makes a joke about, and there's, well, not really a joke, but he kind of like hints that he's the best scientist. He goes, and there's no point in making the trip without a scientist. That'll be whoever the best scientist is the day we finish the rocket. And everyone's like, so Senku, gotta be Senku. And Gen's like, not declaring it outright that it's you, so like you, Senku. Which would be really crazy if the author was hinting, though, that it's not just gonna be Senku, if like Chrome actually surpasses him in some aspect during this time of training. I'm actually gonna save my point for that at the end of the video. But as they're going around, then and they're talking about who to do. They have a pilot, a scientist, probably like a couple crewmen, and then the strong person to go. And that's again when Magma decides to ground bout, and Senku's like, no, we already know the mightiest guy around. And then we get the cool end panel of how they're going to use Dr. Stone on Tsukasa Shishio, and how they're going to bring him from the frozen state to the stone state to depetrifying him. And it goes back to the very beginning when it shows Tsukasa after he's been depetrified beat the lions, and he tells Senku and Taiju, I can make you one promise, that you two will never be in danger again. From now on, I'll do the fighting. So that's how it ends for the chapter, and so we know they're going to bring Tsukasa back to life. So my point was this, though, is that they're not going to build this in a year. It's going to take them another couple years, like how they built the Perseus, probably even longer, because you have to build a rocket ship that can handle at least the minimum amount of crew people, which I think would probably be 5, looking at how this all went down. And they have to be able to test it too, that can go into space like that. And there's no coming back, it's probably gonna be like a one-way trip where someone might have to sacrifice themselves when they're on the moon. But Senku wants to save everybody, and maybe we'll get that, or maybe we'll actually get the weight of death coming apart from it. So we'll see, but I think during that time frame, Chrome's going to grow a lot, and everyone's going to grow in their own way. Everyone's going to be working with Tsukasa more too. Unless when they get back, they have to deal with some crap, which that might happen. That might delay them from building the ship, but they won't build it in a year. It's going to take them a couple years, longer than the Perseus, I believe, in order for them to go to the moon. And in between that time, some crap might happen. So we didn't get any confirmation that they brought back any of the bad guys, either Mozu or Hyoga. So we'll kind of see how it goes from there. But right now, they're heading to what's been, what was set in stone the moment you knew about the petrification, is they're going to get Tsukasa. They're going to depetrify him, and then the plan begins to start moving as far as depetrifying. Now, the crazy part is, though, they're going to need people to also help them navigate going upwards. So are they going to get new people, depetrify some like space, call it like NASA people, to help them out in the system? Because they're going to need help being able to shoot through and then land. Unless Senku can somehow train people from the Ishigami village to help him, which I don't see, but that'd be pretty cool. So, but there you go. That was my ranking review or whatever for Dr. Stone chapter 140, which is awesome. 140 chapters. Congratulations to the author. And then next here we have Undead Unluck number 6. Titled You Haven't Changed at All. So what's crazy about this too, last chapter, something sad happened. Fuuko Izumo, she was on the beach, and she was they ended up in Russia, Germany, or whatever, and Undead Andy decided to leave Fuuko alone while he went to go meet up some of his buds and get preparation as far as like weapons, a location. And then he's also said he'd treat her to dinner as a joke like that. And then Fuuko remained on the beach. So while she was on the beach, she was scared to touch people, but then she met somebody along the way. And that person ended up becoming an enemy, and it was kind of pretty sad too. So if I remember right, her name was Gina, if I'm correct. Yeah, Gina. I don't know why I forgot that so easy. It's because this series seems kind of small, so it's kind of like to hold on to it in my head in a way. But basically then Gina ended up turning on Fuuko and revealing that she's part of the organization that they want to join, the Negators. And so while they're fighting, what happens next is it just continues from that chapter where Andy tells Fuuko to get on his back, and Gina makes her way towards Fuuko, and right away she's trying to hug him, and she's like, oh my gosh, Jenny dearest, it's been far too long. And he goes, sure has. I can't cut you, right? That's your rule, ain't it? She's like, hold the phone. How can you be so cruel? We're united for the first time in 40 years, and your natural reaction is to cut me? He's like, and says the shrewd Minx already had her barrier posted up to begin with. So then Fuuko, she's not really saddened by it, which is kind of creepy and weird. I thought she would have been kind of sad that Gina turned out to be evil, but she's like, are you the person who caught Andy 50 years ago? She goes, yeah, I just didn't catch it, dearest. I supervised him the entire time he was in captivity. But you look the same age as me. And she's like, stop, little Lucky, you little scamp. But apparently she was 16 years old when she caught Andy, and now today she's 66 years old. And she's like, and Andy goes, gotta say, the organization's anti-aging tech really works. And then he gets cut off. And then Fuuko's like, 66? Hey, what's wrong, Andy? And he can't talk. And you're like, what? And then Gina goes, surely you can't be serious, Daddy dearest. You know I'm forever 16. You shouldn't make such unflattering accusations. And then the next part threw me off too, but then Andy cuts his face with his own sword. And you see that Gina had used what was called a death mask, and it was covering Andy's face. He's like, something invisible was covering my mouth. I'm gonna have to figure out a strategy to deal with that. So it's like, it was some kind of mask that was holding him and he couldn't talk anymore or speak. And then what happens is, Gina gets pissed off because she realizes that Andy likes Fuuko, and she's pissed off about that because she fell in love with him, and you get a flashback of when she had originally captured him 40 years ago. He's like, she feels bad. She's like, you know, the organization's the reason why I caught you. And she's like, none of this would have happened if it wasn't directly from them. And he's like, well, you beat me. It's simple as that. I lost to you. There's nothing I can really do about it. And so she starts falling for him because he just said a simple line like that, and to her it was so cool. And so then what happens is, she's supposed to be watching him. She let him slip through, and then for 10 years he's been under the radar where she couldn't actually find him. And it's so funny because while she's talking and monologuing, he starts throwing grenades at her and they explode, and her barrier protects her as she's walking towards them. And she's pissed off because she told the last guy they were with, I forgot his name too. I can remember that as well. You know what? Notes. Start taking notes. She talks about how she was supposed to be alerted, and instead Andy was immediately under attack and almost brought in by somebody else. And she goes, now this time then, when I take you in, I'll take you in for sure. And then Andy throws a flashbang at her through all the grenades, and then realizes that it works on her, but she can still have a barrier up. And he's still not able to figure out what exactly the barrier is. And he realizes that she solidified the lake. She used she telekinetically lifted up the lake, and then she created invisible walls and stairs, her main ability. And so he's like, how is she doing all this? And the rule still throws me off, I'm not gonna lie. But what he does is, to expose her and expose her rule or how her power works, he eats a grenade, cuts his head off, and it's so funny because the blood, when he cuts his head, it shoots into Fuuko's eyes, and she's like, ah! And parts bullet head plus. His head shoots in the air, and then a grenade explodes his head, and it starts raining blood. And he tells her, your ability is you can negate an object's change in state. All of your invisible attacks have been negating the change in the air itself, but covered in all this blood, it's as clear as day. And you see unchanged. That's your ability. And you see a whole bunch of invisible hands that are out with a barrier around Gina. She's like, and even with that knowledge, you really think you can stop me? He's like, heck no, at least not on my own. And he goes, you know what that means, kid? It's time you lend a helping hand. And it's kind of funny because like his entire body was still like regenerating from his head, so he's like naked. And if this ever becomes an anime, I don't know how they're going to do it with him constantly being naked all over the place. So I know there have been other anime that are like that, but I just find that hilarious. So this was a good chapter though. I did like it through the way through, just kind of a little explanation between Gina, and it was kind of funny because she's just pissed off in love with Andy, and you know, declaring that Fuuko's kind of her love rival. But their main goal is to kill her and get to the organization so Fuuko doesn't have to worry about her ability, and Andy and Fuuko can spend their time researching her ability. So that was Undead Unluck though, chapter 6, and it kind of ends from there for me. Alright, as far as mangas of the week and ranking go for this one, for the 3 series that I'm reading, because My Hero Academia is on break this week and it'll be back later on, I do think that, once again, One Piece took the top spot this week. Just because we did get the conclusion of Oden's flashback, how deep and hard it is about him passing, and then, you know, the scabbards and what they've gone through. Now, I will say, though, it wasn't, like, even though I understand the whole scenario behind it was tragic, it didn't really affect me too much. I cried when Toki told Oden that he wasn't going to die, but then he did die, and, you know, she had expectations. She tried staying strong, and she's still trying to be a strong mom. But besides that, I didn't really feel much anything else. Oden died, we knew he was going to die, and the way it was built up to when he would die just didn't affect me all that much. It was still sad though, still a good passing, still a great chapter, and the development for all of it, just setting up that your hate for Orochi is even more, and you really hope Orochi and Kaido both go down, because Kaido agreed to the agreement as well, but he let Orochi still do his own thing when he could have stopped him. He killed the old lady because she got in the way of the fight, but that was about it. And it's like, you both need to go down. You both need to be taken care of. So really hope Luffy gives them all a good decking. Well, I hope Luffy takes down Kaido and Big Mom. As far as Orochi, it has to be either another Straw Hat or someone in the 9 vassals themselves. Been seeing some other fans say it's probably Momonosuke. I don't really see that. But yeah, One Piece takes the top spot for my ranking this week. Number 2 would probably be Dr. Stone. Just kind of the way we read everything. Dr. Stone, then Undead Unluck. Dr. Stone having the great build-up as far as going to see the Y-Man, ending their trip on Treasure Island, and now going back to depetrify Tsukasa. So that, that's a good setup. It wasn't just like an explosion of feelings though, but we got good detail, good character development, and good settlement for this arc, and then on our way to the next arc, which is to the moon, as far as I know. And then lastly, what we do have here, sorry about that, and then from where we, sorry, that's my train of thought, but as far as the development and the ending of the arc and into the new arc, that's where Dr. Stone ended and was great enough for me just to be placed second, but not number 1. Even though both chapters were setups, I think One Piece had a much better deliver as far as everything that was going on and more of the conclusion of what we were expecting. And then Undead Unluck, it was just good. It was a nice chapter. It's a good series to just read on the side to get into as it's developing and growing. I do recommend it. So again, it's not, I should have said at the beginning, it's not a sponsored video at all. Just, Viz Media and Shonen Jump are the main ones that I'm using for this. Want to promote them as well. I am debating on digging into territories though that are not them and that are something else, because there are other great series out there like Fire Force. I did read Quintessential Quintuplets. That just ended unfortunately, but other ones I'm reading too on the side. I think, because I know it's Fire Force right now. Oh, I can't think of anything else I'm reading on the side right now. There is a Spider-Man series I'm reading called Itsuno ta Atwa or something like that. It's Spider-Man Red, Fake Red. It's a really good manga series. I recommend you go read it and then support the author, because I think he's just asking like $2 or something like that from everybody. But it's a great twist on Spider-Man, but it's not exactly Spider-Man. So you got to go see it yourself. Again, Spider-Man Fake Red. It's a great manga series. And then that's about it. So I'm still heavily debating about reading Demon Slayer, but I want to wait till the movie is officially out before I read Demon Slayer. I know people want me to read it. I've been told by my friends it's a great thing to read, but that's gonna wait just a bit, because I want to know when the movie is coming out, and then depending on when the movie comes out, after the movie, then I'll pick up the manga. So we'll see from there. But thank you everybody so much for watching. If you don't like my rankings, oh well, it's my personal rankings. If you got different ones as far as what I've read, let me know. If you have different recommendations, please, please, please let me know them. I'm sorry this went up late. As you can kind of see, it's a different, more of like a darker look than it is the lighter look. Chapters came out on Friday, but unfortunately I wasn't able to review them until Sunday, which is when they should be released. But since I wasn't able to review and rank, they'll be up tomorrow, Monday, or today, Monday, the 24th, which is also my brother's birthday. So, don't forget to please like, comment, subscribe, again, all that nice stuff. And I will see you next time when we read the Fray, guys. Peace out.